want to thank New York Film Academy, and in particular Kim Ogletree, who really is responsible. So if there's any blame, shoot it at Kim.
Always the producer,
If there's anything that you're excited about and you love, throw it at Kim, because really and truly, without her, not only would we have not gotten it done, but we certainly wouldn't be here tonight. So all props to Kim.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go down the table and introduce ourselves. I'm Kim Ogletree, an instructor here at NYFA, and I also run the Industry Lab, which this project came through, where we go out and we solicit projects from professional companies to hire our alumni. And we offer them gear in order for that to happen, which is a great deal as far as I'm concerned, because it's $350 and you can keep it for a month and make a film.
Carl Weathers.
Director.
The mastermind of this crazy thing.
Todd Shoemaker, I'm the editor.
Julius LaFleur, stunt coordinator.
Mara Hall, Roberta.
Abby Hilden, Allie.
Chelsea Rendon, Loba.
Rob Flowers, Canton.
All right. So tell us, Carl, how did you come up with this concept?
Well, boy, it actually, the genesis was a play, a one-man show that I optioned. None of what you see is in that play. I built a story around that one-man show, and as a result, wrote a screenplay, and what you saw was the first 15 pages of the screenplay. So it leads to the story that was invoked by that one-man show. These characters, I had to create, as I said, a story, and these characters are sort of the genesis of the story. This murder that is committed and why this murder is committed, and then the ensuing police department investigation, all taking place in Los Angeles. And I wanted it to be a Los Angeles story, set in Los Angeles, about people who lived in different neighborhoods. So as diverse a story as I could create, I wanted to create. And the entire screenplay takes place in different neighborhoods in Los Angeles. Everything from the West Side and like the Palisades to Koreatown to K-Town to not Compton exactly, but South Central. It's all over the place, and I just wanted this, to see all these people in Los Angeles and how we interact and how we intersect, and really make it about how people come together as opposed to always being apart. So that's what you saw the beginning of.
And why women gangs?
Well, there were a lot of things about this that, as I started to work on it and develop it, I found more interesting. For instance, you have to sometimes, as a man, you have to sit back. As a black man, you have to sit back and kind of see the world, not just the world that you may envision because of how you came through the world and what goes on in your little immediate place, but there's a lot bigger world out there, and if I am going to talk about diversity, then, wow, what if these are all women in these gangs as opposed to men? It's a lot more interesting to see women throw down on each other than it is. We've seen every gang that's male out there and, brutality and all the rest of it, but that's a different kind of madness, And also with the woman cop. Originally, I'd written that for a guy. And then the more I read it, I thought, well, why shouldn't she be a woman? It's far more interesting if she's a woman, And when Keith throws out that line about, you like your women like you like your coffee.
Right.
It's a far more interesting and funny line than if it'd been a white guy and he'd said that, So that's kind of how those characters, I changed them before we met, but I changed them because I thought, well, that's just much more interesting.
And with the issues of guns in the media now, you chose guns. Why?
Yeah. Well, when you see the entire story the story really is about, to a large degree, about Loba. And it's about Loba's world. And I don't want to give away all the stuff, but Loba's world is one in which she's trying to make her way. Her parents aren't in the home for all kinds of reasons. And that's kind of how she grew up. And she meets this guy, and this guy is involved with gangs. And this guy sort of coerces her into helping him get these guns. And that's kind of how it happened. So in a way, the story, every one of these characters has a real arc to them. I didn't want them, you know, anybody who's ever been in front of the camera, unless you are 1 or 2 on the call sheet, you're always servicing the story for 1 or 2 on the call sheet, you know? And I've been there. I don't care how good the thing is, somehow there's something about that you walk away feeling dissatisfied or not truly satisfied because your character, the lines that people write for you, the story that they create around those characters is always subservient to. And I wanted this, Loba, I wanted every one of these, Keith's character has a story that is an arc through this thing where you really feel something for this man and learn something about his life. Loba's at the end of this, you really learn something about her life. And there are scenes throughout where you really get some insight. So the guns, the characters, all of that really, for me, was how can I create a world in which each one of these characters is truly invested and ultimately that you, the audience, invest time into their lives. You know, so in this short 15 minutes, hopefully, you want to know more about those characters at the end of this thing. You know?
Right.
I mean, did that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
You know, and that goes to me asking the question, the makeup. Goth and Day of the Dead.
Well, yeah, I just had this, you know, again, since they were women, I'm trying to figure out, look, for me, in a short, unless you're going to do something truly avant-garde, truly out there, and we've all seen so many movies. I mean, what are you going to do that's going to be that different? And if I'm going to do a genre movie, what can I do that you just really haven't seen on screen before? So how many times have you seen 2 women gangs, and one being a goth gang, and the other being one being a Latina gang, and they've got, what's it called? It's not called Day of the Dead makeup. Anaid, what's it called?
What's it called?
Sugar, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. And Anaid, who I met doing, I was directing a play, and I met Anaid, and she was gracious enough to come on and help us, and we had other great makeup people as well. But I got this idea, you know, let's make them interesting people, interesting characters. They don't have to say a lot. When you see them in the makeup, right away you're going, what the hell's this? This is interesting, you know? So for me, it's always, what can I say without necessarily having any character say anything and give you some insight into not only who they are, but how they behave right away. And so you see those goth characters, you got, man, talk about smoky eye. It's like, whoa, she kind of overdid it on the eyeliner there, didn't she? But right away, you know, you're thinking about these people and you're invested in them, whether you like them or not, you make that judgment, but at least they're interesting. Loba walks on there and half of her face is done. You go, whoa, what's happening here, you know? So that was it, that's the reason.
And ladies, what was it like to sit through this makeup process?
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun seeing the transformation for sure. Like, we're like, oh, okay. Like, this is what we're doing.
And how long did it take?
God, yeah, at least, I think it was an hour at
Almost an
least
hour.
on like just the face. And then you also had to do the hair and stuff too.
Right.
But it was definitely fun. And the makeup ladies were amazing.
Yeah, they
It was
were.
amazing.
They were. A lot of props.
Very
a lot
fun.
of props to the makeup ladies and wardrobe. I got to add that one too, because I'm going to tell you, you know, again, you kind of have these ideas, but when you get people who are really there to play, to have a good time, and the makeup and the hair people were there to do that, and And they just threw down. And I mean, you know, they brought wardrobe in that I go, oh yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. You know, can we do a little more of this or do a little? So, you know, props to the actresses, props to the makeup and hair people, and props to the wardrobe people, because they look cool. And I got to just add this. We did this basically in 3 nights. So we had one location we were at for one night and then a second night, and the other location where the shootout was another location. So anybody in production knows that ain't easy. Okay, and we had a lot of characters, so you look at that too, and it was interesting.
Absolutely. Now, Julius, he was our stunt coordinator.
Yes.
Who had a job on his hands with the ladies and the guns. So let's talk about that for a second. What was that experience like when you first met the ladies, and how many could actually handle a gun?
Well, Carl and I talked about how to execute this. And at first we had talked about stunt women, calling a bunch of stunt women together and see if we can, I knew I could get the stunt women, but I wasn't sure I could get the look that Carl needed. You know, the actors and talent, they always come with a little more than just a stunt. When I work with actors and they do fights, the stunt people are very mechanical to an extent, very predictable. But when actors do it, they put feeling into it. And those pieces you can't get from a stunt person. They may just decide to bite a person on the neck or something, you know, do something that's totally unimagined. But in the girls' case, I was talking to Carl and I said, what if we just get actresses to perform the action? And usually in 2 gangs, there's 2 leaders. They may round up a bunch of people that maybe are not all that committed, but they got to act tough. They got to show up. And then again, to add to that, what if they just started shooting without cover? And I said, that could be really interesting, because I saw a documentary once about a shootout. And it was as scary as anything I've ever seen, because the people that were shooting they were concerned about getting shot themselves. So it's a different kind of shot. It's like shooting and trying to, you know, put your shoulder up and duck and dodge and all that. And we didn't want this trained look like everybody is an expert killer. So a lot of energy came from the girls that never shot before. Some of them would even blink when they pulled the trigger. You know what I mean? That's a real thing that we were able to get. And while everything was scuffling around and it was a lot of natural things happening that was really exciting to me as a stunt coordinator. I was like, this is nice. We didn't have a chance to do a lot of takes, but you know, it was really nice and organic. I mean, they started shooting. Usually they put some benches and some cars or some trash or something, but this was like, you know, just going for it. And I was really happy at what I saw, and the energy was good, as everybody could tell. It was like this kind of different kind of gunfight, you know, and who's gonna get shot? And then a couple of girls, you could see a couple got caught in the stomach. I said, take a knee, because they weren't trained stunt people, so we didn't want them falling,
Exactly.
you know, busting their head open or getting all skin up. And then 2 stunt people can do falls, and we can do it 10 times, but you fall wrong without pads and all that other stuff. That's the one take, and then the next take they're looking quite different. But I think we got a whole lot, and the energy, all the girls, the energy was there. You know, Carl gave them a pep talk, and we got that energy level up, and once that bottle hit, it was on, and you felt it. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, felt that whole unplanned kind of thing. Who's gonna live? Who's gonna die? It was great, and when you went out on it, it was even better yet, because, you know, there's more to come. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How'd you ladies feel when you held the gun for the first time? Was this the first time you ever held a gun?
I've never been more scared in my entire life.
I've gone shooting at a gun range once before,
Okay.
so I didn't feel that nervous, but it's also nerve-wracking because you have someone in front of you, and even though they're blanks or whatever, you still hear these horror stories. So I'm like, okay, low, or what do I do? Like,
I was the one that was blinking.
I'm like, I definitely did that, like, hide yourself and protect yourself and run away without acting like I was running away, sort of thing. But I definitely think it was really fun, and I think, like he said, having actors there and being able to play with it, it was a different feeling that if it would have been stunt people. Because I think we've all worked with stunt people, and it's a little bit different. So having all actors was really cool.
Okay. Did you have any issues with them holding the gun? Did you have to show them how to hold a gun?
Yeah, we went through a little course before. I knew I had to get there early, and the challenge was, we only had one night, and you got to, makeup is doing their thing, wardrobe is doing their thing, Carl's doing his thing, and we have to get answers from the director because you can't go off in some direction that he doesn't want. So I got there early, went through the safety procedures with the armor, showing what to do, what not to do when the gun, and when you're finished shooting it, give it back to the armor. Don't ever point it at your head or anybody. And if you're shooting at somebody, shoot not directly, but off to the side a little bit. So we had a lot to do that night. And I knew I had to get there early, because if I don't give everybody instructions and something happens, that's negligence on my part. So I was doing a lot of talking, and the makeup people's like, get away, I'm trying to do this, and they're, but you had to pick my spots. But we got around to everybody. My son Jensen came out to help, and he was very helpful, and I knew it was going to be a two-person job. So between myself, my son, and the armor, we got the safety aspect nailed down so they can go in and do their thing and not worry about, am I doing it right? Am I going to hurt somebody?
Yeah, they always were like, okay, put your gun down. As soon as it was cut down, guns down, guns down. And it was like, you got to like make sure to put it down right away.
And then the other part is sometimes you come off, when there's so many people working, you don't want to appear to be mean, but you don't have a lot of time for a lot of conversation. We got to keep moving. The sun is coming up, losing the light.
Yeah.
Flares are going out,
Oh my God, the flares.
Oh, man.
But,
I could not stress enough. Anybody who is even thinking about directing, safety first. I'm telling you, I've been hurt so many times on pictures as an actor, and usually it's because there was not enough emphasis on safety. And I know, and Julius and I go way back. Way back. And when I was a young actor, you'd work with stunt coordinators and directors who are trying to make their day. And I'm telling you right now, there are people who get hurt really badly because people are trying to rush things through. And when you're talking about something on a scale that we were doing it was pretty ambitious. But Julius and I were on the exact same page about safety. Safety. So when I called cut, there was no. I was a lot tougher than I think anybody might have thought I'd be. Because man, I don't want to hear talking. I don't want to hear laughing. Everybody's charged up in adrenaline. Guns down, guns down, guns down, because shit happens, and you don't want it to happen on your watch. So that safety thing, the most important thing. Anyway.
Very apparent as well. I think we all felt very safe. Yeah.
Well, we want to take care of people. We want
Right.
people to go home that night and not even have a scratch on them, So everything, you just want to make sure, because, the last thing you want to have to do is say, oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened. No. It's too easy for it to happen anyway. So if you're not ultra safe, you just have to do it and think of, this is your business. It's a lot of fun, but man, this is your business. And if you don't take care of business in the right way, you can create a lot of problems for everybody, including yourself. So anyway.
So now, the character Cantone,
Yes.
what's the backstory of this character? We saw so little of him.
I know, you just got a little taste. You got a little taste. Well, the backstory is that, needless to say, he is the father of Abby's, and he is basically a kind of underworld guy. and his daughter is pushing guns, and he can supply them. And the reason he's bumped off, though, has nothing to do with these guns. And in the investigation, we find out. So I don't want to tell it all, but he's a thug. What can I say? He's just a thug. But he sure can handle a hamburger, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, let's talk about that burger.
He can handle a hamburger.
What did you go through as far as preparing for the role? Because you had such a small moment on screen.
But a beautiful moment. Come on. Come on.
Well, I love the script when I got it, which is rare for me. I was telling Carl, there's not often a script that I really love, but I told him when I got there, I said, I want to see the next scene, So it wasn't, I think once I was there, Carl told me what he wanted. It made it easy. I think, speaking of the burger, the hardest part was actually the burger, because you don't prep for something like that. Cameras are rolling, lights are on, we're doing it, and the burger comes, and it's like this thing. And I'm trying to do the phone, and I realize that there's no way I can do this with one hand. I just have to be real in the moment and try to handle this thing. I couldn't even fit it in my mouth. And then you got to try to wipe your hands. My hands are dripping with grease, and I got to get back on the phone. I'm doing all these things, but it just at that moment, your lines, the scene, so you just kind of being real, and we shot it a few times and got what we needed, I guess.
So when you were talking to your daughter and you were saying you're going to be there, were you talking to her?
No, it was just
Acting.
Acting. Right.
Yeah. So, and again, we don't know the whole story either.
Right.
But you can imagine the situation kind of. But that's something, just a little timing. Carl's telling me what he wants, and you just kind of make up the conversation a little bit. Had to throw in a few. The putting the phone down was just something I had to do because my hands were so full. So you throw it in line, a few lines that weren't there, but you're just trying to make it.
Now you bit the burger every time.
Yeah.
How many times did you bite a burger? You actually ate the burger.
Well, that's I think we had like 2.
Yeah.
So we had
okay.
to try to conserve them. Yeah. So I had to do that. Put that on my resume. How to eat a burger and not really eat one. But I had to take a couple bites, and then you don't really want a mouthful of burger while you're trying to now talk again.
And say lines, right?
That was learning on the fly, I guess.
Cool.
Just for anybody who's filmmaking, again, the director, obviously, the wonderful thing about film, or in this case digital, is that we had multiple angles. So I didn't even need to have him bite a second time. Well, I did go to an angle, he did the same bite. It just looks like he's stuffing more in his mouth. So, that's what we do. You can get it as long as you got 2 cameras rolling at the same time, man. You can cheat anything, within reason anyway. And then sitting beside me, Todd, editor I've worked with on several projects now, and always does a fantastic job. And God knows he can put up with me. That means, a man's got a lot of patience. But he's been so helpful in everything I've directed that I could, hire outside editor. And so, a lot of props go to Todd for making this thing look as good as it did, and helping me really find an assembly that just really worked and moved,
So Mara, I loved your part.
Oh, thank you.
I really did. So what was it like playing this waitress? Because you had to create her.
Yes, the most difficult part about playing Roberta was just all the mechanics of being a waitress. It wasn't like we act, we know our lines, we do that every day, but picking up the props and having the continuity with the props. That was the hardest thing. Making sure every time I got the burger and brought it to Cantone that it was in the proper place and it was at the right angle, and pouring the lemonade and not spilling the lemonade on the. So all of that was very, very tedious, but it just makes you respect the craft even more and the preparation that you have to have. So I really enjoyed it.
And the scream in the parking lot.
Yes.
Where did that come from? That was so real.
Well, I'm a music teacher in addition to being an actor, so I know how to use my core voice.
Right.
So it came from my deep down in my soul, in my belly.
Okay.
To evoke all of that, So, I knew I wasn't gonna hurt my voice because I'm got this cord meat right here. Sorry, I tell jokes. Adios. Yeah.
Okay, and when you were serving Ryan, who couldn't be with us tonight, his team that he coaches is in the championship, so he regrets not being here. Did you suspect anything from him?
No, not at all, because he, like, little skater dude, little innocent skater dude, not at all. Like, he didn't even seem like he would be the type of person to do that. So
Right.
it, just watching it unfold and then the gangs, I want to see more. I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I need to see the whole thing right now.
I think that's talking about the script and what Carl did with it that was interesting to me was the characters were not cardboard cutout characters. I mean, we've seen killers and we've seen guys get shot in the head and we've seen gangs before, but this was kind of a different take on it. You didn't expect the skater
Right.
to be a killer, you didn't expect the girl gangs that you saw. I mean, when I saw it on the script and then when I saw it being shot, it felt fresh and original to me. So I think that was everything's been done, right? So, but you can spin it around and do it a little differently, and I think that was the skater dude was a neat little twist too.
Let me say something about that, because Catherine Ng is here, and Catherine was really wonderful and
Raise your hand.
unbelievably helpful in casting, and I can't thank Catherine enough, because she also wound up coming and sitting there
Being
all
in the
night
diner,
long,
right?
sitting there all night long when the food was being brought around, and she had her little book she was reading, but man, sat there all night long. I'll tell you what, props to her. But back to the casting. We went through, obviously, looking for different types of people and had people come in. And this young guy comes in, and somehow we got on this thing about skateboards, that he did that, because I never had it written that he was on a skateboard. Oh, wow. And I thought, how good are you? And can you really skate? And blah, 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 because I thought, that's an interesting way, a killer on a skateboard. Because, he's so young and sweet looking and, just kind of surfer guy kind of guy, and that's what I wanted. But a skateboard, I thought, oh yeah, this is too cool. So that's how that whole thing happened. And again, originality, trying to find a different take on what we've seen a million times. And that character goes in through the entire script. That character actually drives the piece, because Keith David's character now is hunting for that killer. And that killer is there and remains in Los Angeles when he should be leaving for a reason. That's about where the story really goes. So to put him on a skateboard, the last guy you expect to not only, go and blow somebody's brains out, but also to be a hired killer. I mean, that's a little weird,
And
But
it's
anyway.
interesting because even at the beginning when you see him, you think that the camera's going to follow the car that's pulling off.
Right.
Because it's like, vroom, vroom, and you're like,
Exactly.
oh, I think it's going to go there, and then it sticks with that. So that was really interesting too.
Yep.
So now, Todd, tell us your process with Carl. When you got the drive,
Okay, I
when
should
the
put my hands
drive
over my
was
ears now.
delivered to you by Mr. Weathers, because I'm sure he brought it personally. Did he or did he not?
It's not impossible.
Okay.
He trekked a lot to my house for this.
Yeah. When you told me you lived far out, I said, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I put some miles on my car, yeah.
So talk about the process.
Well, Carl and I have been working together for quite a while now. So at this point, it's pretty easy because Carl gives me kind of first crack at
Yeah. Doing an assembly. Yeah.
Okay.
and then we go from there. And it's great because
And then we throw everything of Todd's out, and then we do it.
we start over again.
No. He does a great job. He does a great job.
But Carl is really easy to work with because he has a very clear idea of what he wants, and not all directors do, and it makes my job easier because once we get in there, he knows what he likes and he knows what he wants, and there's no let's try this, like this is where we should go, and when we get there, so.
Yeah. Well,
So-
you know what? Working with Todd, really, it's interesting because, first of all, Todd is really one of the easiest people I've ever worked with, and in any department, because he really is about the work, you know. And he doesn't have a lot of ego. I try not to. So when we get together, it's really just a grueling thing to just try to shape it and put it together and make it work, you know. But he also, that first assembly, I mean, Todd has read the script, so he's got some idea. We try to really have the footage organized and in a way that he doesn't have to like do 10 jobs instead of doing the job of really just, you know, getting the stuff in his computer and figuring out then from after that point, you know, what the story is. And so when I see I'm always trying to get him to do it faster, but you know, it takes what it takes. But once we get together, then it's just, you know, building the house.
Right.
And he is really, I mean, I just think you get better and better all the time at building the house, you know. So I'm always really, really pleased when we get to that place where I can go in there and sort of put my hands in it, because he just makes it a lot easier than it could be.
So do you have you ever reached a point where you agree to disagree?
Well, he's kicked me out of his house a few times.
Usually we break for lunch.
That's true, too. That is true. Well, we both know it. At a certain point, it's like, oh, man, I can't watch this anymore. Let's go eat some dinner. Or you go eat some lunch, you know?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It just gets, it just, after a while, it starts to wear on you. You just got to take a break, you know, breathe some different air.
Right. So we couldn't have everyone up here, but we do have our DP in the house.
Yes.
He's in the back, Michael.
Michael, stand up, Riz. Stand up. Riz, yeah. Riz did really a fantastic job in so many ways, because, you know, with all these things, you're always up against the wall. Time and money, always up against the wall. And he, I mean, really went to the mat with me to get this done, you know, and had great operators that he brought in, and the equipment, everything that we did, you know, I couldn't have been happier with. I would just like to have had a lot more money and be making the full-length feature, you know. But 3 nights, anybody who's shot night, when you're, first of all, you know, you don't have 150 people out there. You know, you've got as many as you need, but it never seems like it's quite enough. And you're chasing, really, I mean, you're chasing darkness, because it just disappears really quickly. And you're trying to get, again, it was so ambitious, we're trying to get a lot done. But the thing about Riz was, it wasn't a lot of no, we can't do this, we can't do that, you know. I try to be reasonable, but I'm asking for the moon, you know, and he did his best to try to, you know, service the piece. So again, you know, the crew couldn't think of enough, and the guys he had operating couldn't think of enough, you know, and the ACs couldn't think of enough. I mean, everybody just really jumped in there and really worked hard. And none of them knew me. Riz and I, was the first time we actually worked together. And, you know, it's just, there it is on the screen. So lighting, camera work, you know, looks like a movie.
It really does.
So Riz, thank
It
you,
really
man.
does. And then I just wanted to thank Shannon, who was our production designer, our
Yes.
prop master,
Yes.
our glue,
Yeah.
including the blood.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, all those guns sitting in the back of the thing there, and all those ladies having guns, and the blanks, and I mean, it just went on and on and on. It's a lot to wrangle, and you know, it again. What's that? What's that, Shannon?
Hamburger.
Oh, the burgers, yes, yeah. Well, you know, the things that should be easy are the things that are really, really hard, right? But anyway, no, you know, you can always, I always say, I want more and more and more. I want it to be better, better, better. But, you know, realistically, you just have to look at it and say, okay, it works. It works.
And then Gina helped him out. She came in. She's a NYFA graduate,
Yes.
alumni,
Yes.
who keeps in touch all the time. What's going on? What can I work on? And insight in mind is what I tell my students and people that I come in contact with, because you never know what could possibly happen. And she came in as far as to help out in production. Yeah. And she was going back and forth from LA to Eagle Rock, doing things for us. And then Shannon was like, you know, I need some help. And Gina was like, I'll do it. And she was right there for him. And I thank
sweet,
you.
and really a sweet
very
person.
Much so.
Really sweet
Very
person,
much so.
because that helps too. I mean, we had a lot of people. There wasn't a lot of ego, man, and that to me is the biggest thing. If you can surround people who really are there about the work, who really want to do a great job, who really want to see whatever the project is come to fruition, and have something they can be proud of, that's golden. You know, that is really golden. And we were surrounded with people. I mean, the background players. Everybody who was involved, you know, people just really tried to do their best. They really did, you know, and police officers we had on set, everybody, you know, and again, I gotta tell you, man, if it weren't for Kim, I don't know, I probably would have blown my brains out, because it was
blowing my
ambitious.
brains out,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
I mean, when I read the script, it was kind of sort of like, I've never read a script that didn't need a rewrite. Most directors get scripts and they have to do a rewrite. Well, this is a director, actor. It did need a rewrite. And I fell in love with it, and I said, this is intense. I really want to do the movie, because it's really a proof of concept. This is what a proof of concept really looks like. And it was a lot. And he was like, well, what are we going to need? And I said, a lot. And then it was nights. And of course, I teach here during the day. So that was challenging. But it all came together. But I don't want to forget Felicia,
Yes.
who was scripty.
Yes.
How important is that?
Oh.
Did she keep you on track?
Yes. I got to tell you something, and she knows. If you want to help yourself out, have a script supervisor. Yes. Because if you don't, when this thing reaches an editor, you are in trouble. You really are in trouble, because everything that you do and that you shoot, man, if you don't have good notes there, you can wind up months and months on end trying to piece together something because you don't have what you thought you had. And so having a script supervisor there who is really taking cogent notes and making sure, not only that, very helpful in just, you don't have this, you don't have that while you're there on the set. Because my brain is, you know, usually working where I'm trying to be like 3 steps ahead of myself. So I may have envisioned I'm going to shoot something and thought I got it, but no, you don't have that. So before you break things down and move on, you know, oh, okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's just get this right now, okay? Mm-hmm. So yeah, imperative. I don't care what budget you're shooting on, you know, day, night, one location. Script supervisor is really important. Really important. Yeah.
And you know, I must say from a producer's standpoint that it was a very ambitious script to do in 3 days. We were fighting night because we had shorter time at night and longer days, basically.
And one location we couldn't even get into until it was 9 o'clock that night because the restaurant didn't close that night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're always working with money, dollars. Oh, can we shut the restaurant down early? No, because then we have to buy it out.
Yeah.
And who has the money to buy it out when we really can't start shooting till night anyway? But we would like to get set up earlier. So when the night hit, we were ready to roll camera. We had a big cast. It was a lot. It grew on a daily basis.
Yes, it did.
It went
What can I say?
from the let's shoot the guy in the parking lot to, oh, we need a
Oh, God.
police car.
Yeah.
We
We
needed
needed more than one police
coroner's
cars.
van
Yes.
with the, of course, it had to be labeled coroners and everything,
Yeah.
which meant people had to drive them. We had to have people in the outfits and costumes, and everything has a dollar attached
And
to
every
it.
one of those has to be brought to set, and then they
Yes.
have to be brought back to where we rented them from.
was
So
a
money,
tow.
money, 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 money.
It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then it became, oh, we're shooting at night. Where are we going to go to the bathroom? So we needed trailers and 3 bangers because we
Yep.
have talent. Of course, they don't want to be together. So everybody has to have their own room. So, you know, it turned into this massive production. And this gentleman right here has a very high bar. Okay? And you can't leap over the bar. You just have to hit the bar, okay? And I must say that Anna did an excellent job, who's another alumni from NYFA, who was my coordinator. And she was ride or die all the way to the end, all the way to the end. And I just want to thank everybody. So we want to open it up to you guys. Do you have any questions?
Can I just say one,
Oh, sure.
one last thing before? You know, again, because we all really want, I don't think anybody goes in saying, I want to do a mediocre work. You know, everybody wants, you want to do the next Black Panther. You want to, that's what you want to do. You want to do the next Avengers, whatever. You want something that just blows up in the world, right? Talent, people in front of the camera, because I've done it for almost 50 years now as a professional, right? And I'm still a young guy. Isn't that great? The point is, if you, there's a line. You don't want to waste money. But if talent isn't comfortable, at least, you are not going to get the best out of them. If the crew isn't at least comfortable, you're not going to get the best out of them. And whether you're here, and learning the ropes as a filmmaker, food goes a long way to making people comfortable. And a place where they can sit down goes a long way. With actors, having some space where somebody's not in your face all the time, maybe they want to sit on the set, but sometimes they don't want to. It goes a long way. Because at the end of the day, if it's not on the screen, I don't care how much you spent, it doesn't work.
Right.
So ultimately, you're going to want to see it on the screen. So you want these people to really feel their best when you roll the cameras, and the people who are providing all the services to help those actors, you want them to feel their best, because it's a grind. And at night, it's another grind on top of the grind. So whatever you can do, man, if you got one location, that's cool. But have some place where people can retire, where they can, when they're not on, they can go sit off to the side. If the crew, they can sit off to the side. Something that's quieter, do you know what I mean? Where they're not right there and have, because those hours beat you up, So that's, if nothing else that I've said tonight, take that one to the bank, because man, that's really important. That really will give you either something good on screen or, you will lose your crew and your actors in a heartbeat if they're not comfortable. So go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm good. So, does anybody have any questions? Yes, here's Mike.
So I think that a lot of us are interested in seeing the rest of the movie. So
You know what? We have a hat that's going to be right at the door. And we'll take whatever you have to put in the hat, and we'll make the movie. How's that?
Yeah, so I guess the question is like, what's as a producer, what would be the next step to raise money for you to be able to continue?
Yeah, it's like the old question, how do I make it in the movie business? Almost any way you can, really. You know, there are so many different ways that you can raise money. The problem is to actually raise the money. The ways, you count the ways. I don't have the next step there at this point, you know?
Have you thought about Kickstarters or something like that?
Well, it always sounds good. I'll tell you, that's a grind, too. That's a real grind. People don't, I mean, let's face it. If I actually got a budget done up for what I'd really like to do, I'm not going to raise that kind of money on Kickstarter. So, you know, I'm going to have to really make some really hard sort of cuts in where I'd like it to be. But, I mean, you know, that's possible. It's possible, but that's a grind, too. It really is. Everybody I know that's done that, a lot of people don't make whatever they're projected to make, and then what happens? They don't get any of it. So it's you know, raising money is not as easy as I think a lot of people think it is. Yeah. But if you, as I said, if you want to contribute, we can start it tonight. We can start the fundraiser tonight.
Exactly.
We take checks as long as they don't bounce. But thank you for asking.
Anybody else? Yes.
I was really curious about that part of the dialogue where the waitress and the cop are going back and forth with anybody, nobody.
Yeah.
What was the genesis of that?
Yeah.
It was injecting a little bit of humor, at least for me.
Yeah. Well, I was going after humor in that because so often, you know, we see the cop in the investigation and it's just, you know, dragnet. The facts, just the facts, man, you know? And so I was looking for something that just gave you some levity in it. You know, I mean, these people, first of all, these detectives do this every day. Every day. So the person who comes in there and if they're talking to someone, and first of all, I wanted what's the character's name again? Roberta. Jesus. I wanted Roberta to be a woman who is just a regular woman. She works as a waitress. She doesn't speak the king's English, right? So I wrote it where she says his self instead of himself. And she pulled it off so beautifully because it was just like, that's the way she speaks. And nobody, you know, I hear guys on network television say that and I'm going, damn, we got to get you some lessons, brother, in English, you know? But it was perfect for her. And she says, nobody, you know, walking over somebody, nobody dead, ain't no, you know, that's the way she talks. But here we have this woman who's correcting her, and why? Because that's her little pet peeve. Right. That's a thing that she, you know, she just learned last week, the difference between nobody and anybody. And so that, for me, was just a way of injecting some humanity and humor at the same time. So that, you know, you're just like, oh, God, okay, here we go. Question and answer again, you know. That was really it.
So, as a director, how important was movement to you? I know style seemed very important, and movement, it seemed to me from the beginning that there was a real sense of with the car moving and the skateboarder coming in and the camera. So I thought it already had a lot of style from the beginning. Is that your signature? Was that premeditated? Were you thinking, did it just happen?
No, it's premeditated, without a doubt. I don't know about signature. I mean, I don't know. You know, there are different stories and different ways that different directors could shoot the same scene. And for me, how can I get movement without making it so apparent that camera is moving or people are moving? It's just a part of the choreography of any scene, you know? So in each, I call them movement. The first one in the diner, the second one with the cops coming up at the outside after the execution has occurred, and the third one is the ladies in the parking lot blowing each other away, you know? How to choreograph each one of those so that it basically stands on its own, but at the end of the day, you're not looking at it saying, this is weird, or why are they moving, or that's odd movement, or any of that, just as naturally as possible. How do these people move? What is this scene about? Where do I want to put the camera? And what is it I'm trying to say at the end of it all, So I hope that answers your question.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes?
As a collaborative effort, because it's between the New York Film Academy and then yours independent, and you had your own crew, and I was on set there too, so I saw that I could kind of distinguish between who was alumni and who wasn't, but is there a percentage that had to be met for the Film Academy to participate in the project, or?
Oh, it's only, you have to hire at a minimum 3 alumni.
Okay.
That's it. And carry them for the run of the show. Okay? And that's a benefit for us because they're getting experience and they're getting hired. It's a minimum wage minimum to hire them. And if it's someone like Mr. Weathers, it'll be a hand-picked situation because I'd rather select alumni that's been out a couple of years versus someone who's just graduated. So I know they know what they're doing and they've had the experience out here before. Otherwise, we'll send resumes directly to the client, and the client will go through the resumes, they'll call them in, and it's just the same old interview process that you would go through if it were a normal job that you were interviewing for. So it's not that complicated. It doesn't take long. You just have to submit and say you need assistance on a particular project. And then after that's done, it gets submitted to the director of the school. He reviews them. We collaborate on them, and then he has the final say-so, of course, on which ones that we do. Preferably they like, we're raising the bar a little bit to bring in, A-list talent or at a minimum B-list talent to work with. But we also do student productions as well because a lot of the students have ideas, great ideas. And we afford them the opportunity to do the same thing.
I mean, I have to say, I really couldn't tell who was your alumni.
Okay.
I worked on big budgets, and I really couldn't tell. They did an excellent job.
Well, one thing about NYFA, they throw you right into it. They throw you, they put a camera in your hand, right? They put a camera in your hand as soon as you land. So they probably get more experience than the USCs, the AFIs, the, UCLAs, and they're really skilled at what they do. I mean, we did one film up the street, Kappa Studios, and they ended up firing all of their crew and hired all NYFA alumni because they were just so on top of keeping the truck in order, making sure there was no missing and damaged. If something was happening, it got returned right away and got brought back. So, there's a nice, solid group inside the industry lab.
We were very fortunate because I think the number of people who were professionals who've been at it for a while they did such a great job and were so easy to work with that it seemed to me really seamless, and again, man, no egos is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
When people just come to do the work and want to be there, and that was basically the experience. It was a good experience as a result of that, I think. People wanted to be there. Yeah.
Anybody else? Yeah.
So it feels like for a lot of actors, directing becomes like a natural progression. But a lot of directors don't seem to start trying to act. So I'm always curious when I do find, actors that also write and direct, particularly when they act in their own projects. But I'm just curious to know your perspective on just how those two crafts intertwine. Like what kind of influences you to do one or the other, and just your overall, I guess just how they intertwine for you.
Well, when I was young, really young, I grew up in New Orleans. There was no film industry in New Orleans when I was a kid. There were also very, very, very few black actors that commanded any roles. I mean, you had people out there, but they were usually either in exploitation kind of roles or films that didn't get the kind of wide release that, today that we get. So as a director, it never occurred to me as a kid to want to direct. You know, the first thing I saw was an actor on screen, Poitier, and that was the thing that inspired me to be an actor. You know, I wanted to be Sidney Poitier. I wanted to do what he did. And then Belafonte and people like that, Woody Strode, you know, the people I met much later in my life. But the more I worked and the more directors I worked with, there was some who I really, really thought they knew what the hell they were doing, man. And the key was, I worked with a director who's still around, who's a man named Jon Cassar. And Cassar, I think Jon is originally Canadian. A lot of good Canadian directors who now are here doing a lot of work. But Jon was one of the guys on what was the name of that thing that was really big? What? 24. And I worked with him a long time ago. And I remember being able to go in my trailer and fall asleep. And when it was my time to go on, they'd call me. I'd get up, I'd go out there, and Jon knew exactly what he wanted. It was set up already. All I had to do was get in front of the camera and do what I did. I didn't have to direct myself. And that was such a luxury, because a lot of actors have to direct themselves. And why? Because they have to protect themselves. They have to protect themselves from directors who don't know they're from a hole in the ground. I mean, really. You know, guys know where to put the camera, guys know what size lens they want to do and all that, but they can't help an actor try to, you know, navigate a role. So Jon really, you know, I began to watch him more and more, man, and appreciate it. And of course, I'd worked with good directors like John Avildsen and a number of others, you know, McTiernan, wonderful director. But McTiernan, again, is a guy who knows camera and lenses better than anybody I've ever met. Not the greatest director for an actor, but he knew what he wanted. So guys like that just really impressed me. So the intersection really is when you finally work with a director who gives you the idea that you really are secure as long as you do your job, you know? Now I want to see, how the hell do you do that? You know, how do you become that guy? Because I'm just kind of a greedy guy. I want to be able to do so much, you know, and pretty ambitious at the same time. So at the end of the day, if you really think you are all that, then step up to the plate and see if you can do all that. You know, now, conversely, there are a lot of directors who should stand in front of the camera so they can really get an appreciation of what it takes to do that job. And the vast majority of them have not.
Exactly.
So you really want to help yourself as a director and really get better? Go take an acting class. Don't try to direct anybody. Just see if you can take direction and what you can do. And you will learn more about how to direct an actor than you ever will standing behind the camera and saying action and cut. So to me, you know, that's a real challenge for directors a lot of the time. But, you know, I'm just happy to have been able to do one fairly well, and I want to do the other a lot better, you know.
Blake.
Hello, I'm one of the amazing NYFA students. I didn't work on this, but I had so much fun talking with my friend who did, and she's like, Carl Weathers was here, and Kim was here. It was just, every text I'm, here and there, I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's such an honor to be here. I just wanted to ask a two-part thing. Favorite moments, memorable moments, and anything that you learned that you'll take into the next project. Thank you.
Sheesh. Wow. Wow.
That was deep.
Yeah. Favorite moments, honestly, was finishing every night and feeling like I thought we'd gotten it, you know? Because I'm telling you again, man, nights, I don't care how big or how small, nights are a grind, you know? And of course, there's 150,000 questions that need to be answered. And then on top of it, and I you know, this is not something we talk about a lot, but if you're financing it yourself, there's a whole nother pucker factor that's there. I mean, it just is. It just is, you know? Because if you want it to be really great, like, when are you going to say, no, enough is enough already.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that point, you
Yeah.
know?
We had those moments.
Oh man, let me tell
Okay,
you.
can we stop the bleeding?
Yeah.
Because we're bleeding now.
Yeah, and you know
Bleeding
what?
hard.
And there wasn't any way. Tourniquet didn't work.
We're spewing.
Yeah, you know. So
My jugular's been slashed.
so at the end of it, though, the absolute best thing was all the people. All the people made it really worthwhile. You know. You're gonna have some stuff that just you know, you like to smack somebody maybe, but you have to just really say whoa, take a step back, chill out a little bit. It'll work itself out. It always does. There were no catastrophes on this shoot, none whatsoever. A lot of really great people who really, a lot of attaboys because people did great jobs all the way around, and learned, wow. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I mean that it just gets verified again and again and again, and I think that's the biggest lesson really. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Got broad shoulders? Go ahead and carry it then. If you're gonna do it, do it.
Was that for everybody?
Yeah, it was for everybody.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Should I tell my moment? Oh. Well. Yeah. Oh, yes.
I just wanted to say, obviously on set as a script supervisor, you sitting there, you're just making a movie. But I still cringe or cry or laugh when I'm looking in the monitor. And I just wanted to ask Cantone, how does it feel laying there in the puddle of your blood, brains all over the car? Because I'm just, even it's acting, but you do also have that sense of mortality there. So I'm just wondering as you laying there watching that, what was going through your mind?
I think the gunshot was my favorite part because it was an effect, and we had a rig to my ear and spray, and we had the skater. Killer had to come up right as he entered the frame, and it had to be just perfect, and I had to whip my head and drop, and we got it in one take.
Yeah.
And Carl's real happy he's done. And then came the part where the next night we have to lay there for
the next night.
The whole night.
And kudos, because you didn't even blink when the light went. The flashlight was in your eye, and you were just like.
I was in a zone. I was there for hours, and I didn't get up because they're like, we'd cut and stuff, and go, so you all right? You all right? I said, I'm actually fine. I'm kind of comfortable. I didn't want to keep getting up and down, and I just laid there for hours, and that wasn't that big of a deal, really. I think the uncomfortable part was the actual firing of the gun behind your head. It's kind of an interesting thing that when they're going to clear the chamber and Shannon's going to show that the chamber is empty, suddenly 30 people were on set. I didn't know where they all came from, but everybody wanted to make sure the gun is clear. And it made me think, oh man, this is a little weird. Having somebody come up and pull the trigger behind your head, even though I know it's empty. So I think it's just a little strange to have that happen to you, even though you know. But I was excited about the stuff. I saw it and played back in the monitor. So as far as laying there in the fake blood and stuff, that was fine. It was the stunt that I thought was so interesting and fun.
Visually, it was beautiful.
There was there were three other people that aren't here tonight. You have gratitude because you ask people to do something and then they're not being paid a lot of money. They make a lot more money than they were making that couple of nights with me on the set, and that was Keith and Joelle and Gary, who were they were troopers, because again, nights, man, these people, they work, they make a lot of money, and they came and did me a huge favor, that if you can get people in there who, again, everybody just showed up and did the work, and do it, and nobody complained about anything. So without them, though, it doesn't work, So all that says to me is, again, make people comfortable, treat them well, because without them, this auteur bullshit is bullshit. You need everybody to make this thing happen, You can write the best screenplay in the world. If nobody sees it, it's, basically it's a novel, okay? So you need people to make movies, and, don't ever think it's me, it's me, it's me, It's about every one of those people, right down to the person who's sweeping the set after you've wrapped that night, because you got to clean those cigarette butts or whatever is thrown on the ground down, So I think it's really important to remember that, just really, and kind of walk through the world with that attitude. It's the people, it's the people, it's the people. Because this stuff that's projected up there without those people, it doesn't live, it doesn't breathe.
Any other questions?
Kim, can you piggyback on the one you were going to say?
Oh, your question? Oh, well, what was the question?
Which one?
Favorite moments or things you're going to take with you to the next project?
Yeah. Yes.
Favorite moments?
There weren't a lot of them. I know. Kim was like, every day was like, oh my God, when's the guy going to leave me alone?
I mean, memorable moments was keeping the trailers fueled. Okay? Because when everyone's working, the trailers are still going. Fuel is still being burned.
Yes.
And I didn't have money. I did not dare ask, because I knew I could lean on an associate of mine who was our transportation captain, who we needed because we had so many vehicles. And he actually brought in like gallons of fuel and fueled them by hand, like back in the day. But I would have loved to have had a fueler, okay? Because you need air conditioning, the light had to stay on, there's food in some of them, there's wardrobe in some of them, there's extras in some of them that have to remain comfortable during the day, not the day, but the night while we're shooting. And that I wish I could have, because I leaned a little hard on him, to do that for me. But of course he came through. But that's all a part of having relationships with people and being good to people when you can be good to them and have the money to do it. And you can ask them to do you those type of favors. Memorable moments every day. I mean, every day was a memorable moment. I mean, this man is amazing. Just being on set with him on a daily basis and watching him do his craft as a director was one of my best moments in my life, I should say. Yeah. Because when I saw him look into the monitor along with Felicia and say, I think we got it. Did we get it? I think we got it. And then he looked at Riz and was like, yeah, we got it. We got it. You know what I mean? So just hearing that and knowing that you're getting it is a big deal when you're making a movie. Because sometimes you don't get it. You just go, okay, we got it. Let's moving on. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my two things.
Yeah.
But somebody else, yes, Tara.
You had an interesting, I'm interested in, you've talked a lot about being collaborative and being giving. Also, people have described you as really ambitious and having high standards. And I'm wondering, it seems to me that you probably did a lot of preparation to be able to be that way on set. I'm curious to get a little bit of insight in terms of your preparation process that helps you to be able to make those decisions on set.
That's a really it's a really interesting question, man. That's a big question too. I think it's simple, honestly. To me, being on set is just a mirror of how you live your life. It's so simple. If you live your life in a particular way, which is being prepared, which is treating people with dignity, appreciating what they do, at the same time, when somebody isn't living up to the standards that you really want to have around you, don't tolerate it. Thank you, but no thank you. Somebody else, please. Because I walk in saying, I know, and I've known this for a long time, if you went out tomorrow and shot a project, I don't care how much money you spent on it, it is going to be compared to the biggest and the best on screen on the very same day. And so if you don't, regardless of the amount of money you have, put everything you can have in it that is comparable to the best that's out there, then you've failed as far as I'm concerned. And if you don't live your life that way, you ain't gonna flip a switch once you get on set. That ain't the way life works, you know? That's like, you know, having a child and being somebody who is uneducated and saying, when I have a child, I'm gonna be a rocket scientist and I'm gonna teach them. Just not the way life works. Whatever you practice on a daily basis is the way you're gonna behave under stress. And making movies is nothing but stress, you know? So my preparation, man, is this is who I am. This is the way I behave. This is the way I walk through the world, you know? Making a movie is just another aspect of who I am. It's an artistic aspect of who I am. And I have, obviously, limitations, just as any other human being does, you know? But I try to, you know, to express those better parts of me as much as I can in my life. And making movies is a part of my life, has been for a long time. So that's the prep, really, you know? Now the technical stuff, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, that's really a whole nother thing. I have to rely on people like Julius. I have to rely on people like Todd. I have to rely, you know, on Kim. I have to rely on script supervisor, casting people, all those people. Operators, DPs, I have to rely on them. But if you set a tone and those people basically follow that tone, you're gonna, you know, you're gonna be okay. And if they don't want to follow that tone, then best you get somebody else, man, because all they will do is hurt what you're after, you know? And I really do my best to always be after the best that I have to offer and manifest it, you know, whether it's up on the screen or just walking through my life on a daily basis. Not easy, you know, but it's kind of like, you know, I was a professional athlete. It's about as great a meritocracy as you're ever gonna get. If you ain't together, they'll find out real soon. Real soon. You can't fake your way through being in shape. You can't fake your way through that. And I think filmmaking is very much the same. You really can't fake your way through. You can get somebody else to step in and do the work and you can take credit for it. But you know, I think the preparation is just in how you live your life, you know?
Okay, we have time for one last question if we have one. Yes.
I enjoyed it. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you, Mara, for inviting my wife. I've seen a lot of shorts. Lots of friends acting, directing, wonderful things. Come see my short, come see my short. I've never been upset to see a short end.
Oh, right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
What's really interesting is I was very unhappy to see this end. In a similar way, I was unhappy to see your character, Pablo Creed, die on the screen. Like I was a teenager when that happened. And it took me a long time to shake that.
Me too, by the way. Took me a long time to shake that, man. Wasn't gonna be another payday.
There's a reason Creed as a character is back now.
Yeah.
It's because your ability to take whatever screen time they gave you. I'm not going to accuse you of chewing up scenery, but you managed to shift the emphasis of those films you were in from everyone else to you. Now, part of that was the design of a bigger-than-life guy who's, you know, whatever. But you're also able to do it in this short. In other words, a character's on screen for just a few seconds. What are you saying to them? Because I believe you may be using some of the same discipline that you use for yourself. Look, I'm on screen for like 2 minutes right now. I got to make it work. Like, what are you saying to actors to make them understand the importance of maximizing? Because it worked in this short. That Apollo thing was working for the. I felt horrible. This guy got his brains blown out. I was like, wait a second. He's like the coolest dude in the whole. I'm like, what?
I felt the same way.
So what do you? I'm curious. And I'm sorry. Real
No,
quick.
go ahead.
And this is really two separate questions, but I got to answer the last question for tonight. Of all the characters we've all seen, in all the movies we've all seen, let's face it, there's a handful of characters as recognizable as Apollo Creed. Like literally, you must go through, and you're very gracious. You talk about rock. I heard you talk about the movie. Like, you're very gracious that way. Now, how is that life informing your life as a man, outside of show business?
Yeah.
How is that informing? Are these two things you can answer quickly?
I can answer, man, but wow. You are astute, man. I got to give that to you, first of all. You are really astute, particularly with that first question. I'll try to be brief, because you really asked, you asked something really loaded there, man. Really loaded. I think the first thing is, and I think this is valuable for anybody who's studying right now, or who's even, we do what we do. You got to love what you do. You really got to love it. And, I'm not saying be enamored with the result, being enamored with people coming up and glad handing you and telling you how great you are. That may happen. Maybe it won't. A lot of actors never hear that. But you really have to love what you do. There's something about that I think informs how it manifests itself up on that screen. And when working with actors, you got to love actors. You got to really love them, man. You got to appreciate what that takes. Talking about acting, that's just, that's like talking about how you build a birdhouse. Okay, but the doing of it is a whole nother thing. And so if you're working with actors, you got to really love them and what they bring and how they bring it. You can always sort of dial it a different way if you want, but see what they have to offer, And if somehow what they do trips your trigger, then encourage them to do more. Give them support. Give them a space where they feel, that word again, comfortable. Because man, if you're not comfortable, if your sphincter's tight, I've been there. That is not a good way to work. You can't get the best out of you. Now, there are people who, actors can be their own worst enemies. We love to be on. We love people watching us. And so we can go overboard in a heartbeat. You gotta sort of like keep the reins just right, you know what I mean? But when they wanna run, man, if you have the space and the place, let them run and love them while they're doing it, because you will get such great performances out of people, You have to trust yourself too, trust that you know what you're doing, because you can shoot yourself in the foot by, not trusting yourself enough or trusting the actors enough. And Todd, I'm sure, can attest to this because we've worked together enough times now. Hey man, I've got so many takes of something that I can use in different ways, or we can shave something off here, or take this shot and put it in this particular place, use that close-up rather than this close-up from a different take, eventually build a scene that works. Because in 3 nights, 15 minutes of film, there's a lot that you have to do to make it work, right? So I hope that answers the first question. The Apollo Creed thing, I think a lot of people want celebrity more than they want to master their craft. You know? So if your idea is to be a celebrity, ain't nothing wrong with that. If you want to be a movie star, ain't nothing wrong with that. But if you want to somehow dig something out of a role that says something to humanity, about humanity, that's a whole nother thing, you know? So your astute question about Creed in particular was, my approach has always been, every role does not necessarily allow it, and every director does not allow it, and sometimes they won't cast you because you're too big for them. You're gonna fill up the screen and you're gonna take it away from number one on the call sheet. That's just the way it is, you know? They got a lot of money invested number one on the call sheet, and they've already got their minds made up of that's what they're selling. So you may be just a little too big, man, you know? But when it's your time, how do you fill the screen? And what are you gonna fill it with, you know? And for me, just candidly, it was always the thing that first inspired me was Sidney Poitier. And Sidney Poitier made this young black boy look up at the screen in a way that he never looked at it before. I mean, it really moved me seeing this man up there, you know, as beautiful as he was and still is. But my attitude was, that's what I want to do, you know. Always my thing, and I've said it to my sons, was I have two sons who are adults, and the last thing I've ever wanted my sons to ask me was, Dad, why did you do that? Because man, if I hear that question, I made a wrong turn. So for me it was, my son and every other man's son out there was, oh wow, look what we just found. Look what fell off the truck, you know? If I can do that, then, you know, the subtlety of it all, it'll bleed through. It'll bleed through, you know, what I want to say about people who look like me, you know? And ultimately, every man, you know? So that's kind of the long and short of it, but really astute question, man. Really astute question, yeah.
Well, that's going to wrap us up. And I want to thank all of you guys for showing up.
Thank you.
The background, we had a lot of background here tonight. And I hope you were happy with what you saw. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you.
Thank you, guys.